Hi everybody, Dan Bailey here with another photography tip for you. Before we get started, I just want to take a couple minutes to thank you guys for tuning in. It's been a really fun experience and a learning process for me to get my tutorials up here on my YouTube channel. So I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. Be sure and check out my blog. For the past few years, it's been rated one of the best outdoor photography blogs on the web. So be sure and check that out, and let's get started. As photographers, when we're out searching for subject matter, we often look for scenes that have wide tonal variation and a diverse color palette. By using a mix of contrasting tones and hot and cool colors, you can create a real variety of moods within your scenes, and you can also help direct the viewer's eye around your photograph. I recently made a video about how we as human beings perceive color and how you can use that in your photography to strong effect. But what happens if you go the other way? Instead of looking for a wide range of tones in your image, you pare everything down to a single color that dominates your scene. What if you eliminate the element of contrast within your color scheme and you only feature a single color or a very narrow range of hues within your subject matter? I like to refer to this approach as shooting monochrome in color, and I find it can be a really fun and very creative challenge to add to your photography. As much as I like playing with color and using variation in my tones and creating that element of contrast, there are some times where I really enjoy using this technique to experiment with creativity in my photography. One of the reasons that black and white imagery can be so powerful is that you present the shape and the feel and the message of the scene, but without the distraction of color. Since we naturally see in color, by removing it entirely from a photograph, you suddenly create a medium that becomes very separate from our real-life viewing experience. Now, if you do the same thing in color, and you eliminate your color contrast and you narrow everything down into one single hue, you're effectively creating a very similar view experience for your audience. By denying them of the most prominent aspect of color photography, you're doing the same thing. You're forcing them to focus on the shape and shadows and lighting and the story of your image instead of the color. And from a creative standpoint, when you're utilizing a technique like this, you force yourself to get back to the basics of light, framing, story, and composition. However, since you're not limiting yourself to those three tones of black, white, and gray, your creative options become wide open. You can use any color for the foundation of your scene, but the trick is to try and use only that color, or only hues that are in the same family as your dominant color, or colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. You'll find that the techniques for creating images with this style will vary greatly depending on your subject matter. With some scenes it'll be relatively straightforward. Think about nature scenes, close-ups, flowers, macro shots. There are a lot of scenes out in the world that will easily lend themselves to using a monochromatic color approach. Other times, the effect you use will be dictated largely by the prevailing lighting conditions of your scene. And there are some times where you'll really have to stretch your creative skills and really push yourself to come up with an effective framing in order to make the best use of this kind of approach. And of course, you can also create these kind of effects in post-processing. How much color you use in your scenes is entirely up to you. There are no rules. I mean, come on, do I look like a guy who likes rules? Do I look like the guy who likes to tell other people what to do? You can use only a single hue. You can include small bits of secondary colors to add additional interest. Or you can challenge yourself to go minimal and eliminate every other hue in your scene other than your primary color. It's all about experimenting and creating images that drive your own visual excitement. I've had a lot of fun using this technique in my image making, and I encourage you to try playing around with these techniques as well. By adding this to your own bag of creative tricks, you can really expand your image making possibilities in new and exciting ways, in some ways you might not have ever thought of before. And once you kind of key yourself into this, your own visual senses will suddenly become more attuned to seeing the world and recognizing those dominant colors that are out there. And you'll uncover a whole new world of creative possibilities that you can experiment with when you're out taking pictures. Of course, the best thing about this technique is that it doesn't require any special gear. You don't need a new camera, you don't need a new lens. Whatever gear you have, you can take it out and immediately start looking for those scenes and start searching for those monochromatic color scenes in your world. This is something you can start playing around with today, no matter what skill level you are with photography. All you need to do is go out in the world and just pay attention. There's a world of creativity to be had with this technique. It just takes experimenting, so I hope you have fun with this. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. And as I mentioned earlier, go check out my blog at danbaileyphoto.com. I've got a lot of great content on there and some really cool books and ebooks that I've written over the years. In fact, I'll even offer you a special discount code for my latest ebook, Behind the Landscape. This is a step-by-step, behind-the-scenes manual that shows you exactly how I created 16 of my favorite images from the past few years. In a sense, you get to look over my shoulder and watch me through every step of the process as I'm choosing my gear, gauging the light, solving problems, dealing with the different creative components of the scene, and I even show you the outtakes that led up to the final image. And for every image, I leave you with a set of takeaways that you can apply to your own photography. There's a lot of great information in there to help you shoot better landscapes, so I hope you'll check it out. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Dan Bailey Photo. So again, thanks for watching, have fun with your cameras out there, and I'll see you next time.